Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we're jumping into, this is that Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Cable. Now, he's kind of from one of the more newer lines, and we're gonna get into that in a moment because they already released Wave 1 and Wave 2. I believe this is Wave 3. Now, not too long ago before this, they actually released, well, I'm sorry, before I get into that, links in the description down below for you to purchase on Amazon, but this is going to be a non-unboxing review, just to give you guys heads up. If that's not your thing, then I understand you guys might want to exit the video at this time. Now, they recently released, I want to say, when I say recently, I mean about like a year or almost a year and a half ago now, but maybe about a year ago, a non-X-Men 97 version of Cable, which actually looked very much like the Cable from the Capcom Marvel Versus games. But this one seems to be, right off the top, I could tell you, he looks like a bigger figure, like taller. I'm not too sure how tall the other figure was, but this one definitely looks bigger than your standard figure. In addition to that, but he's supposed to be a larger character, so I think that that lines up. I happen to have Cyclops on hand. Funny enough, his dad, and just to see the height difference. And yes, Cyclops is shorter than him by a little bit, maybe almost like an inch. So he is definitely a bigger figure, and he's supposed to be. In the comics, his height is 6'8". He's actually one of the tallest regular size characters that's out there, even taller than characters like the Rhino, taller than characters like the Thing. He is 2 inches shorter than Juggernaut's actual printed height. And he weighs 350 pounds. At least these are what was depicted in the cards in the 90s. One thing about this figure versus the other Cable figure is that the other Cable figure comes with, I want to say it's 2 guns, but one is like a small gun and one is like a gun like that size. So that's the size of the big gun on the other figure, roughly about. And then the other gun, I think, is a smaller one, is even smaller than that. And this one has the gun that's the size of how he would normally have in the cartoon. I do wish like that they gave him an additional smaller handgun, but nonetheless, what he comes with is better than what the other Cable comes with. I'll give it that. So whether or not you like this version better or the other version better in terms of the look, the accessories on this one is far better. He also comes with 2 blast effects as well, which is really great. So at this point, this figure is really coming with a good baseline of things that I feel like, for a regular price of a figure, you don't want to come with less than that. I don't even care if it's stuff you throw in for a figure that doesn't even belong there. Don't give me less than a couple of items at the price range that most of these go for nowadays, which is now $30 is the standard, not even $25 anymore. I think when I first kind of got into this, which is only about maybe a year, like about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, but about 2 years ago, you saw the figures were going for $25, and now the standard is $30. So it really does suck that they've gone up, but you're not really getting more. So anyway, looking on the back, you can see this is from Wave 3. So you've got Logan, you got Jubilee, you got Morph, you got Emma Frost, you got Sunspot, and then obviously you have the Cable. Some people are trying to collect everything, and I get that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to collect the main ones that I like the most, and out of this wave, it's really just Cable, maybe Jubilee, but like that just be an extra. But I really like this version here because, like I said, you're seeing him in the cartoon, and it's really cool. As I mentioned before, links in the description down below, and any other details you guys might have or questions about Cable, I'd gladly like to answer, or if you have whatever, just down in the comments, want to start a discussion on him or any of these figures that I happen to review. I know a little bit of Marvel stuff, so I like to always throw that in, being that I'm not unboxing the figure, so give you guys a little bit of tidbit with that. I know that in the 90s when X-Force came out, they were almost like the biggest thing because they were almost like the gritty thing where Marvel, I'm not going to say seemed very tame, but it was almost like the way of what was coming from X-Men and the X-Force became the more gritty stuff. And X-Force was even more gritty than X-Men. So especially with the drawing style, especially with like what they were going through, their fights and whatnot. Little fun fact, I know a lot of people love Deadpool, and I'm not really a big fan of Deadpool. based on the way he is now. I used to be a big fan of his because he used to be, when he first came out, he was guest appeared in X-Force comics. This is when X-Force first released the comics in an issue like 1. They had multiple covers, if I'm not mistaken, variant covers, and they all came, or if they didn't have variant covers, I know they all came with a different card at the time, based off the Marvel Series 2 cards that were already out previously, just a little bit before those, which had power stats on the back. Now, and it was funny because they gave the X-Force characters all super high stats just for the sake of doing it. They weren't realistic, but they just threw them like that anyway, I guess just to hype the characters up. They weren't in line with none of the stats of the Marvel Series 2 cards at the time, meaning everybody, the highest stat goes up to a 7. Almost everyone in X-Force had 6 and 7s for everything, which made no sense. So anyway, but I remember Deadpool had a time where he guest appeared in it, and Deadpool at that time was serious. He was like this assassin type of mercenary guy who was very serious, and he didn't speak a lot. And when he came to the room, it was like a dangerous kind of thing. Like you knew like it was gonna go down. But also too, there are other characters who easily rivaled him in deadliness. There was a character named Kane, if I'm not mistaken. He was like an android or cyborg, who was also really cool. I think that was issue 3 or 4 where him and Deadpool were fighting. Very cool. Cable was badass, like doing his thing at the time as well. And then at some point later on, obviously with Deadpool, they end up watering him down to be more jokey. And even though he may say blunt, over the top things that are definitely not for kids, it's still in a jokey manner, which before he didn't say much. He was straight up just a killer. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. But yes, at that time, Cable and the X-Force were like the biggest thing around at the time. Anyway, you guys, as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.